Sheet 1. On the morning of September 10, 2013, joggers screamed in horror when they discovered a female body floating in Changzhou Lake. The woman wore a striking red coat, her pale hand clenched, with a silver ring engraved "Forever Love You" sparkling on her finger. At first glance, it seemed like a simple drowning accident. But a deeper investigation revealed a horrifying secret. Behind the facade of an accident was a meticulously planned murder. The victim's husband turned out to be a true monster. He manipulated his best friend into becoming his wife's lover, then silently killed her just days after their wedding. It sounds unbelievable, but this is a true story that happened in Jiangsu, China. How elaborate was the killer's plan? What was his true motive? Let's uncover the story together. Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to never miss our upcoming videos. Rewinding to 7 a.m. on September 10, 2013, at Changzhou Central Park, Jiangsu Province, locals discovered a female body floating on an artificial lake. The body was face down near the cable-stayed bridge area. Police were immediately dispatched to the scene and proceeded to retrieve the body from the water. A preliminary examination showed the victim was a female, around 27 to 28 years old, approximately 1.6 meters tall. She was wearing a red coat, black tights, and high heels. Jewelry such as a silver necklace and ring remained intact, and her purse still contained cash. There were no signs of struggle or injury. The scene was undisturbed. Police initially ruled out robbery and suspected either suicide or accidental drowning. The first task for the police: identify the deceased woman. She carried no identification or personal documents that could reveal her identity. Police collected fingerprints and DNA samples to cross-check with the national database. That same afternoon, a man rushed into the Changzhou police station, his face pale and panic-stricken. The man identified himself as Li Liang. He reported that his newlywed wife, Liu Hongxia, had been missing since the previous night. According to him, Liu Hongxia had gone out alone to practice riding her new electric bicycle and never returned. When asked to describe his wife, Li Liang detailed her appearance: height, red coat, black high heels, all eerily matching the recovered body. Police showed him a photo from the scene. Li Liang immediately broke down, sobbing uncontrollably, confirming the victim was indeed his wife. He repeatedly beat his chest and cried, "It's all my fault. If I hadn't bought her that bike, none of this would have happened." Li Liang stated that just days before, he had gifted Liu Hongxia a brand new red electric bicycle as a wedding present. Since she wasn't familiar with riding it, Liu Hongxia often practiced alone at the park in the evenings. On the night of the incident, Li Liang finished work at 9 p.m. When he called, she said she was practicing riding, so he thought little of it. However, by 11 p.m., Liu Hongxia still hadn't returned home. Her phone could no longer be reached. Growing anxious, Li Liang contacted Liu Hongxia's younger brother. Together, they began searching the streets. They combed through every corner, every street near the park, but found no trace of her. It wasn't until they heard the devastating news that police had found a female body in the lake that reality struck them. Facing the cruel truth, Li Liang collapsed emotionally, blaming himself. "It was that bike I bought her that killed her." Police recorded his statement and initially considered the possibility of an electric bike accident. To confirm, police retrieved the red electric bicycle from the bottom of the lake. The bike showed multiple scratches underneath and impact marks on the surface of the bridge. After reconstructing the scene, investigators proposed that Liu Hongxia might have lost control and accidentally fallen into the lake. However, a tiny, easily overlooked detail completely shifted the direction of the case. When measuring the lake's depth, it was only 1.45 meters, while Liu Hongxia stood 1.6 meters tall and wore high heels, easily enough to stand safely after falling. The next disturbing detail chilled the investigators. There was mud stuck to the soles of her shoes. She hadn't just fallen, she had tried to get up, she had struggled. A healthy woman, taller than the water, with no injuries or unconsciousness, yet she drowned in a shallow lake? Something didn't add up. Police began to realize, if this was an accident, it was too perfect. And if it was murder, someone had planned it very carefully. Upon hearing the news, the victim's family rushed to Changzhou. Liu Hongxia's mother collapsed upon reading the autopsy report. No one in the family accepted her death as an accident. They refused to sign the death certificate and demanded a full investigation. In fact, signing was only for funeral procedures and wouldn't stop the investigation. But this resistance forced the police to re-examine the entire case from a new perspective. At that time, Li Liang was still seen as a devoted husband, crying endlessly, sparing no cost to find his wife's phone, and cooperating fully with police. But the deeper the investigation went, the more suspicious details emerged. First, the park where the incident occurred was quite far from the victim's home, despite many safer open areas nearby for bike practice. That park was deserted, poorly lit, and the bridge area had no streetlights. If she just wanted to practice riding, why choose such a risky place? Second, after reviewing surveillance footage, police confirmed Liu Hongxia had gone to the park alone that night. However, in the footage, she handled the electric bike confidently, not like a beginner, contrary to what Li Liang had claimed. The possibility of an accidental crash became increasingly unlikely. Li Liang's initial statements no longer matched the evidence. Another odd detail drew attention. When the electric bike was retrieved, its headlights were turned off. In a dark area like the bridge, riding without the lights on was highly unreasonable, even dangerous. Over the next 2 days, Li Liang displayed a series of strange behaviors. He repeatedly urged police to find his wife's phone at all costs. Technically, the police could retrieve call history via digital systems and didn't need the device immediately. But Li Liang kept pressing them. Eventually, he paid 2,000 yuan out of his own pocket to hire a diver to search the lake. When the phone was found, he immediately handed it over, insisting, "This is key evidence." What seemed like a helpful act only made investigators more uneasy. Why would a normal husband be so desperate to turn in a phone? Not only that, Li Liang repeatedly pushed the police to solve the case quickly, always saying, "You must find the truth for Liu Hongxia." While unsure what to believe, police analyzed the phone's call data. Before her death, Liu Hongxia had called a number ending in 716 3 times. When asked, Li Liang admitted it used to be her number, but said she'd stopped using it long ago and didn't know who had it now. At that moment, Liu Hongxia's younger brother provided a crucial detail. The number ending in 7116 was currently being used by Zhu Jiuwai, Li Liang's longtime best friend. According to him, Zhu had been living in their house for a while and had moved out just a few days before the incident occurred. That raised serious questions. Was Zhu Jiuwai the last person to see Liu Hongxia alive? And why was he using her old phone number? Zhu Jiuwai was no longer a vague figure. Police scanned all surveillance cameras around the park from that night. The footage confirmed. From 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., Zhu Jiuwai appeared repeatedly near the lake, exactly the time Liu Hongxia died. Another unusual detail stood out. Zhu Jiuwai left the park by taxi at 4 a.m. The driver later reported something strange. "The money he gave me was soaking wet, but it didn't rain that night," the driver said firmly. The question was clear. Why were Zhu's clothes and money wet if he had only been strolling through the park? Police immediately summoned Zhu Jiuwai. As soon as he entered the interrogation room, he appeared nervous, avoiding eye contact. Under increasing pressure from investigators, Zhu admitted he was the one who had called Liu Hong to meet him at the park that night. In his statement, Zhu revealed that during his time living with the couple, he and Liu Hongxia had grown close due to Li Liang's frequent absences, eventually having a secret affair. On the night of the incident, the two met, shared intimacy in the park, and then Liu Hongxia gave Zhu a ride on her electric bike. When crossing the bridge, they lost balance and fell into the lake. Zhu claimed that after they fell into the water, he panicked and climbed out first. When he looked back, Liu Hongxia was motionless, and he assumed she had drowned. At that moment, he was overwhelmed with panic. On one side was his best friend, Li Liang. On the other, the woman he had been secretly involved with. If he called the police, the truth would be exposed. Not knowing how to face Li Liang, Zhu Jiuwai ultimately decided to walk away. But the investigators weren't easily convinced. They pointed out a major inconsistency. The lake was only 1.45 meters deep, shallower than the victim's height. Mud on the soles of Liu Hongxia's shoes proved she had tried to stand up in the water. If both fell together, why did only she die? Faced with relentless questioning and physical evidence, Zhu Jiuwai grew silent and stopped cooperating. He only admitted, "I couldn't save Liu Hongxia," and then refused to answer any further police questions. When the interrogation results were relayed to Li Liang, his reaction didn't match that of a grieving husband. He stormed into the station, cursing Zhu Jiuwai, calling him a traitor and a coward. "I treated you like a brother, and you stole my wife?" In the days that followed, Li Liang showed up at the police station repeatedly, crying, demanding to bury his wife. But police realized his real goal wasn't justice. It was to get the death certificate issued quickly. This behavior raised suspicions. Was Li Liang afraid of something being exposed? Was there a deeper secret among the three of them? The case reached a deadlock. That's when a crucial clue emerged from the victim's biological father. He revealed that just days after the wedding, Li Liang had purchased a large accidental death insurance policy for Liu Hongxia. Initially, the family thought it was a loving gesture. But when they contacted the insurance company to claim funeral expenses, a chilling detail surfaced. The sole beneficiary named in the policy was Li Liang. None of Liu's family members were listed. Police immediately checked with the insurer. The policy was purchased on the third day after the marriage registration. The payout if Liu died, 4.5 million yuan, all going to Li Liang. The policy was originally intended for high-risk workers like rescuers or construction crews, not a housewife like Liu Hongxia. Using this suspicious policy, police began digging into Li Liang's background prior to meeting Liu. They discovered Li Liang had a previous marriage and a young child. After the divorce, he rushed into a second marriage, just 20 days after meeting Liu on a dating app. Financial records revealed Li Liang was deeply in debt, addicted to gambling, and had gone bankrupt running an internet cafe. Yet to Liu, he appeared generous, gifting an iPhone, expensive jewelry, and spending freely after only a few meetings. These extravagant gifts clearly didn't match his financial status. It was all part of an act, a well-crafted performance. Even on the day of the incident, Li Liang had what seemed to be a perfect alibi. Surveillance footage showed him searching for his missing wife. But when police reviewed the route, it was odd. He just circled a few main roads for less than 20 minutes, never stopping to ask anyone, then drove home. This was not the behavior of a truly worried husband. It was a staged performance to fabricate an alibi. At this point, police were convinced Liu Hongxia's death was not an accident. Li Liang was involved, and he and Zhu Jiuwai were arrested for further investigation. After a month of intense interrogation, psychological pressure broke Zhu Jiuwai. He began confessing to every step of the plan. Days later, Li Liang also broke down and admitted everything. In his confession, Li Liang said he used to be well off. In 2012, he opened an internet cafe, but it failed after 1 year. Drowning in debt and addicted to gambling, Li Liang's personal liabilities soared into the tens of thousands of yuan. Desperate, he began thinking of a shortcut to rebuild his life: murdering someone to claim insurance money. At the time, he was still in his first marriage. Although the couple had issues, they hadn't fully split. But because he couldn't kill the mother of his child, he chose to get a divorce. After ending that marriage, he moved to the next step, actively searching for a new woman, one who could become his victim. He used dating apps, targeting divorced, lonely, and emotionally vulnerable women. That's when Liu Hongxia appeared. She was a 27-year-old from Sichuan, recently divorced, and emotionally fragile. With sweet talk and unusually generous gestures, like gifting an iPhone and expensive jewelry, Li Liang quickly won her over. Just 13 days after they met, Liu Hongxia agreed to marry him. But right after the registration, everything changed. Li Liang never touched his wife, didn't consummate the marriage, and treated her like a stranger in their own home. On the third day after the wedding, he deliberately left insurance documents in plain sight, under his ex-wife's name. Liu Hongxia found them. Suspicion flared up, and she asked, "Why do you still have insurance for your ex-wife?" Li Liang, calm and prepared, replied, "I'm switching the name to you. You're the one who deserves to be protected." Unaware she was signing her death sentence, Liu happily signed 2 insurance contracts totaling 4.5 million yuan, with Li Liang as the sole beneficiary. With the paperwork done, it was time for the next step: execution. Li Liang initially considered staging a traffic accident, but since they'd only just gotten married, and any involvement would raise suspicion, he needed a third party. He thought of Zhu Jiuwai, his quiet, kind high school friend, often bullied in the past. Li Liang had once protected Zhu from bullies. Grateful, Zhu deeply respected him. Li Liang slowly approached Zhu and gently revealed his plan to kill his wife for insurance money, promising Zhu 200,000 yuan after a quick, clean job no one would suspect. Zhu Jiuwai quickly agreed to join the scheme. Li Liang arranged for Zhu to move into his home under the excuse of being homeless. He intentionally distanced himself from Liu, creating space for Zhu to get close. During their time living together, Zhu won Liu's trust with his attentiveness and care. The young, lonely, and naive woman believed it was a secret love affair born from her husband's coldness. On September 9, 2013, Zhu asked Liu to meet him at the park. After being intimate, Zhu suggested a ride on her electric bike. As they reached the middle of the bridge, he suddenly accelerated and drove straight into the lake. Both fell into the water. As Liu struggled, Zhu pushed her head underwater, holding it there until she stopped breathing. That evening, Li Liang called her phone. No one answered. Knowing the plan had succeeded, he immediately contacted the police and pretended to search for his missing wife. However, his impatience, hastily arranged script, and unstable emotions made it impossible to deceive investigators. On September 17, 2014, the court sentenced both Li Liang and Zhu Jiuwai to death for insurance fraud and premeditated murder. This was one of the rare cases with almost no physical evidence, built entirely on motive, inconsistencies, and confessions after psychological breakdowns. The brutal crime was later adapted into the 2019 film The Beneficiary. However, the film softened the motive. The reality was far more sinister. The Li Liang case stands as a chilling example. Greed and selfishness can turn a man into a monster, one who murders the very woman he called wife for blood money. Justice ultimately prevailed, but the haunting lesson remains: never lose your conscience for the sake of money. Thank you for watching this story. If you found it informative, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next shocking case.
Blinded by jealousy, a man brutally murdered his wife and an apprentice at their family's mannequin factory. Not only that, but he also forced and coerced a blacksmith into helping him bury the victims in the basement. After pouring concrete over the 2 bodies, he fled with his mistress, leaving behind countless unanswered questions. However, the place where he hid was only about 500 meters from the police station. Unbelievable? Was he mocking the authorities? But this is completely a true story that took place in Taiwan in 1967. When the concrete was broken open, the veil of this mysterious case began to lift. Subscribe to our channel to discover it with us right now. Setting of the incident: Ximending, the bustling heart of Taipei, Taiwan. It was the late afternoon of August 6, 1967. At the Ximending police station, a middle-aged man rushed in, looking extremely frantic and panicked. The man was Zhang Jingyan. He said, I was forced to bury 2 people in the basement of the factory at number 51 Kongding Road. The commanding officer slammed his hand on the table, his voice stern. Speak clearly. Who buried them? What exactly happened? Zhang Jingyan, trembling, recounted. Wang Wenmin, he killed his wife and an apprentice. I was forced to pour concrete over the 2 bodies. I didn't dare refuse. Initially, the police were skeptical of this information because the informant appeared unstable. However, following protocol, they still accepted the report and proceeded to check the scene. Number 51 Kangding Road was a rather old 4-story building. The 2nd floor was a beauty salon. The 3rd and 4th floors were small apartments, and the 1st floor and basement housed Wang Wenmin's mannequin factory, named 7 Color Arts Workshop. Business owners around the building recounted that the factory supplied mannequins to fashion stores across Taiwan. Work was always busy, rarely stopping, even during holidays. However, 2 days earlier, Wang Wenmin suddenly announced a work stoppage, locked the factory door, and posted a crudely written note. Closed today. While curious, no one paid much attention to it. The police knocked on the first floor door, but no one answered. Reluctantly, they broke in. Inside, apart from display cabinets filled with finished mannequins, there was no one else. Following Zhang Jingyan's lead, the police went down to the basement. The air became increasingly suffocating, with a strong chemical odor rising from below. The deeper they went, the stronger and more unbearable the smell became. Zhang Jingyan, his face pale and hands trembling, pointed directly at a concrete patch in the corner of the basement. "They are buried here. Right here." Flashlights immediately focused on the spot Zhang Jingyan indicated. At this point, the police still didn't fully believe Zhang Jingyan. However, under the mannequin display cabinets, they found bags of cement and fine sand neatly stacked, which gave them reason to verify his story. The police hired 4 funeral workers to break open the concrete. After a few minutes, one worker suddenly shouted, "Stop!" All flashlights immediately focused on a steel rod that had been cut. Digging another 20 centimeters deeper, a worker picked up a cement-stained right glove. Excavating another 50 to 70 centimeters, a bundle of jet black hair emerged under the flashlight beam. At the same time, an overwhelming stench filled the entire basement. By 11 p.m., the first body was retrieved. It was a woman, her face intact but stiff, and her hair had been completely shaved off. Half an hour later, the second body appeared. It was a young man, his face swollen, with clear strangulation marks around his neck. Both bodies were stacked on top of each other. At this point, there was no longer any doubt. Zhang Jingyan's account was true. The victims' identities were quickly confirmed. The woman was Wang Shujuan, wife of the factory owner Wang Wenmin, and the man was Chen Guofang, an apprentice at the factory. The time of death was determined to be approximately 3 days prior. Both had died of asphyxiation, likely by strangulation. However, one chilling detail left investigators uneasy. The hair of Wang Shujuan had been shaved completely. The rough, hacked-off hair found earlier belonged to Wang Shujuan. Why would the perpetrator do this? What was the motive behind such an unusual act? At this point, Wang Wenmin was considered the prime suspect. But when the police prepared to arrest him for questioning, they suddenly realized a serious mistake. Initially, due to their doubts about Zhang Jingyan's statement and the lack of clear evidence, they did not immediately arrest Wang Wenmin and focused only on excavating the scene. By the time the 2 bodies were discovered and their identities confirmed, Wang Wenmin had vanished without a trace. The police immediately issued an urgent arrest warrant for Wang Wenmin across the city. Every corner of Taipei was searched. Wang Wenmin, who was 31 years old at the time, came from a poor working-class family. He had little education but possessed a remarkable talent for crafting mannequins. His products were once sought after by fashion stores across Taiwan. His wife, Wang Shujuan, 30 years old, was a sharp and strong-willed woman. At the time of the incident, the couple had 3 children together. However, their marriage was unhappy, with frequent quarrels caused by Wang Wenmin's jealous and possessive nature. Everything started when the second victim, Chen Guofang, 18 years old, began apprenticing under Wang Wenmin. Chen Guofang was a diligent and hardworking young man, but he was also someone Wang Wenmin deeply distrusted. Wang suspected his wife and the young apprentice were having an affair. The police concluded that this suspicion could very likely have driven the suspect to kill both victims. Expanding their investigation, the police discovered that the time of the incident coincided with the end of the apprenticeship for the factory's young workers. 3 other apprentices from the 7 Color Arts workshop who were on leave were summoned for questioning. All 3 appeared visibly nervous as they entered the interrogation room. When asked about the days leading up to the factory's closure, one apprentice recounted, "The boss and his wife had a huge argument. I heard things being smashed from upstairs." The second apprentice added, "It happened after he lost 2,000 NT dollars. The boss went into a rage and even shaved her head." Another apprentice remembered the night of August 3rd, just 3 days before the incident. That day, the boss suddenly announced that he knew who stole the money. He said the factory would be closed for a week. Following these leads, the police visited the family of the second victim, Chen Guofang. His father, struggling to stay calm, recounted, Before this happened, Chen Guofeng told us that Wang Wenmin suspected him of having an affair with his wife. He even hit him once, so we advised him to quit. But he said quitting without reason would only make the boss more suspicious. He didn't want to do that. It was clear that if the suspect's motive for killing his wife stemmed from jealousy, this clue carried significant weight. At this point, the police faced another problem. Zhang Jingyan's role in the case. He was the informant, but also the one who helped bury the bodies. The big question remained, was Zhang Jingyan truly coerced, or did he participate from the beginning and decide to betray Wang Wenmin later due to a conflict of interest? To uncover the truth, the police split into two teams, one to track down Wang Wenmin across Taipei, and the other to focus on interrogating Zhang Jingyan, who was the key to solving the entire case. During interrogation, Zhang Jingyan, trembling, recalled the night of August 4th, around 10 p.m. He said Wang Wenmin suddenly appeared at his door, looking tense and anxious. He said his wife had been missing for 2 days, and despite reporting it to the police, there were no leads. "I'm planning to go to Taichung to look for her. Come with me," Wang Wenmin suggested. Zhang Jingyan, suspecting nothing, agreed. The two rode a motorbike to the eastern bus station in Taipei. Halfway there, Wang Wenmin suddenly turned to him and said, "I forgot something important. We need to go back to the factory to get it." Without hesitation, Zhang Jingyan followed him back to Seven Color Arts workshop. As soon as they entered the factory, Wang Wenmin quickly locked the iron door behind them. He looked at Zhang Jingyan with cold, piercing eyes and said, "My wife did something she shouldn't have. I ended her life. The apprentice too, they're under the bed." The words hit Zhang Jingyan like a thunderclap. He froze, his limbs weak. Instinctively, he turned to flee, but Wang Wenmin had already pulled a knife and held it to his throat. "If you don't help me, I'll bury you with them." With no way out, Zhang Jingyan reluctantly succumbed to the threat. He and Wang Wenmin dragged the two bodies from the bedroom to the basement. A hole in the ground had already been dug. Wang ordered, "Pull them in, quickly." Zhang Jingyan obeyed in terror. The two victims, Wang Shujuan and Chen Guofeng, were placed in the hole. The sight of Wang Shujuan's shaved head and pale, lifeless face nearly caused Zhang to faint. But in the end, he and Wang Wenmin hurriedly covered the bodies with dirt. "Let me go home, I'm exhausted," Zhang Jingyan stammered after the task was done. But Wang Wenmin wouldn't let him leave. "You're not done yet. Go buy cement and quick-drying materials with me." When they returned to the factory, as Wang Wenmin busied himself mixing the cement, Zhang Jingyan seized the opportunity. He threw down the shovel, bolted for the door, and ran straight home to hide. However, Wang Wenmin chased him all the way to his house. He banged on the door furiously, shouting threats, but after searching in vain, he left. Knowing he wasn't safe, Zhang Jingyan decided to flee to his brother's house that afternoon. Upon seeing his brother, Zhang Jingyan stammered out the story, but out of fear, his words were disjointed and unclear. Before his brother could understand, Wang Wenmin showed up at their door. He glanced around, his eyes sharp and menacing. Zhang Jingyan turned pale, and with no other choice, he slipped out through the back door and ran straight to the police station. This was the moment the police witnessed the panicked man reporting the crime, as seen at the beginning of the video. While Zhang Jingyan's statement helped the police find the bodies, many doubts began to surface. Zhang Jingyan was a blacksmith, tall and strong. Meanwhile, Wang Wenmin was only about 1.6 meters tall and small in stature. With his physical advantage, why was Zhang Jingyan so terrified and easily coerced? Additionally, the most laborious and exhausting task, digging the hole, had already been done by Wang Wenmin himself. If he had completed the hardest part, why would he risk involving Zhang Jingyan, someone completely unrelated, to help bury the bodies? Was it possible that Wang Wenmin deliberately involved Zhang Jingyan to share the responsibility? These doubts prompted the police to interrogate Zhang Jingyan again. This time, after hours of questioning, Zhang Jingyan changed his statement. He admitted that he was not forced, but instead agreed to help bury the bodies because Wang Wenmin promised him a sum of money. Out of greed, he complied, but guilt eventually drove him to report the crime to the police. At the same time, the police discovered a distant family connection between Zhang Jingyan and Wang Wenmin. Zhang Jingjian's brother-in-law was Wang Wenmin, and Zhang Jingjian's wife had been introduced to him by Wang Wenmin. This explained why Wang Wenmin approached Jiang Jingyan for help in disposing of the bodies. But the question remained, how reliable was Jiang Jingyan's statement? Was he manipulated, or was he truly an accomplice? The police concluded that only by capturing Wang Wenmin could the full mystery be unraveled. While the police were still struggling to track down Wang Wenmin, a new event made the case even more complicated. A man named Yang Jinchuan rushed to the police station, reporting that his wife, Li Liang, had gone missing. Yang Jinchuan revealed that neighbors had seen Li Liang riding on the back of Wang Wenmin's motorbike on the night of the incident. Yang Jinchuan's family ran a wig business and had many dealings with Wang Wenmin's mannequin factory. The two families were quite close, but the relationship between Wang Wenmin and Li Liang was far from ordinary. During another search of the factory, the police found nude photos of Li Liang among Wang Wenmin's belongings. The photos appeared to have been taken willingly, indicating a romantic relationship between Li Liang and Wang Wenmin. Li Liang and Wang Wenmin's trail was unclear, but the fact that Li Liang carried her ID and some cash when she left convinced the police that she had voluntarily run away and was not abducted. The police searched across Taipei, Taichung, and even expanded their scope, but with no results. Rumors spread that the pair were hiding in central or southern Taiwan, while others reported they were in Sanchong, leaving the police tangled in false leads. On August 16th, after 10 days of stalled investigation, the police received a strange letter from Wang Wenmin addressed to his father. The front of the letter, written in Chinese, requested his father to send 2,000 NT dollars to Li Liang's family to help her husband cover expenses. However, on the back of the letter, Wang Wenmin wrote in Japanese, "Do not send the money." The police realized this was a ploy by Wang Wenmin to maintain a moral facade in front of Li Liang. They decided to publish the letter in the newspaper to expose his true nature and urge Li Liang to turn herself in. Yang Jinchuan's family also published an open letter in the newspaper, begging Li Liang to return home to her 5 children. These letters stirred public emotion but failed to bring Li Liang back. This also led many to question the competence of the police. Finally, on August 24th, the police were forced to offer a reward of 30,000 NT dollars for information leading to the capture of Wang Wenmin and Li Liang. On August 30th, the case took an unexpected turn. Wang Wenmin sent a letter to the United Daily News, expressing his suffering while on the run and insisting he did not intend to kill anyone. He promised to surrender with Li Liang if the letter was published. The newspaper published the letter the following morning. At 11 p.m. on August 31st, a taxi stopped in front of the police station. Wang Wenmin and Li Liang turned themselves in. What shocked everyone was this. During the entire time they were on the run, the couple had been hiding near the Nanhai police station in Hsinchu City, just about 500 meters away. Wang Wenmin even wore a conical hat and rode a bicycle selling ginseng water every day, fooling everyone hunting for him, something that seemed straight out of a movie. During interrogation, Wang Wenmin admitted to abusing his wife, which caused Wang Shujuan to die because she did not receive timely medical care. However, he adamantly denied involvement in Chen Guofan's death, claiming that Zhang Jingyan was the one who killed Chen Guofan. Wang Wenmin began his account from the beginning. On July 24th, he discovered 2,000 NT dollars missing. In his anger, he searched the house and found a bottle of perfume in Wang Shuan's drawer. Overcome with uncontrollable jealousy, Wang Wenmin tied up his wife, beat her, and interrogated her relentlessly. Not stopping there, he shaved her head as a form of humiliation, preventing her from leaving the house or meeting anyone. After the abuse, Wang Shujuan lay bedridden, her health deteriorating. On July 31st, Chen Guofan, the 18-year-old apprentice, brought food to the mistress as usual. Seeing Wang Shujuan lying motionless on the bed, Chen Guofan anxiously asked about her condition. In a moment of desperation, Wang Shujuan whispered for help. "He has wrongly accused me. If this continues, I will die soon. Please go out and report this." At that moment, Wang Wenmin suddenly appeared. Hearing the conversation, he gave Chen Guofan no chance to explain. In a rage, he tied up Chen Guofan as well. beating and interrogating both of them despite Chen's pleas. In fear, Chen Guofeng shouted at Wang Wenmin, "It's not me who has a relationship with your wife. It's your brother-in-law." Jiang Jingyan, who was also present at the time, exploded with anger, yelling, "You're the one blaming others." Unable to control his rage, he attacked Chen Guofeng, beating him to death. Meanwhile, Wang Shujuan, weakened by her injuries, also succumbed shortly afterward. Wang Wenmin admitted that both he and Jiang Jingyan realized they had caused deaths, and together bought shovels, cement, and tools to dispose of the bodies in the basement. However, this testimony completely contradicted Jiang Jingyan's earlier claim that he was forced to help. After disposing of the bodies, Wang Wenmin feared the police would soon discover everything, so he approached Li Liang, his former lover. He confessed his crime and said they had to flee. Li Liang, though hesitant, agreed to leave with him, bringing some cash and her ID card. In the following days, when news reports twisted the case based on Jingyan's claims, Wang Wenmin decided to surrender and reveal the truth. Revisiting the autopsy report, Chen Guofeng died from asphyxiation caused by strangulation marks, which contradicted Wang Wenmin's statement that Chen was beaten to death. Despite numerous conflicting and unverified statements, the case was brought to trial once someone had confessed. On October 18, 1967, the case was tried at the Taipei District Court. The courtroom was packed with citizens and journalists. In court, Wang Wenmin defended himself. Zhu Jiuwai's death was an accident. "I didn't mean to kill her." However, his weak defense failed to convince the judge. The biggest point of contention during the trial was Jiang Jingyan's actual role. The court concluded that the deaths of Wang Shujuan and Chen Guofeng were caused entirely by Wang Wenmin. Overcome by blind jealousy, he acted cruelly. As for Jiang Jingyan, the court ruled that he was coerced into helping dispose of the bodies. Result: Jiang Jingyan was declared innocent. However, the prosecutor appealed. For 9 years, the verdict oscillated between guilty and not guilty. Endless trials fueled public outcry, and the case involving Jiang Jingyan and Wang Wenmin became a heated topic across Taiwan. On March 16, 1976, the Supreme Court issued the final verdict. Jiang Jingyan was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The judge cited a statement Jiang Jingyan allegedly made in prison. "Chen Guofeng talked too much, so I strangled him to his last breath." The court also pointed out, if he was innocent, why didn't he escape when he had the chance? His inexplicable actions and conflicting words sealed his fate. As for Wang Wenmin, throughout the 9-year trial, he was consistently sentenced to death. Finally, he was executed by firing squad just 4 days after the final verdict was issued. His death closed part of the case, but the conflicting testimonies and lingering mysteries continued to haunt the public. Meanwhile, the most controversial figure, Li Liang, became the center of public scrutiny. Why would a mother of 5 agree to flee with Wang Wenmin? In his final days, Wang Wenmin claimed his relationship with Li Liang was destined, but society could not accept this truth. It turned out that Li Liang and Wang Wenmin had been childhood sweethearts. After her failed marriage to Yang Jinchuan, Li Liang's life spiraled into despair. The pressure of raising 5 children and the burden of poverty overwhelmed her. A chance encounter with Wang Wenmin brought her a sense of solace amidst her dark existence. Although Yang Jinchuan, Li Liang's husband, declared his willingness to forgive and take her back, Li Liang refused. She accepted a 5-month prison sentence for destroying family happiness, rather than returning to her old life. After her release, she gave birth to Wang Wenmin's child and quietly disappeared into the vast crowds. The case ended, but its echoes remained. Newspapers wrote, "This is not merely a murder case, but a tragedy of love, greed, and human corruption." The names Wang Wenmin, Jiang Jingyan, and Li Liang became symbols of one of the most shocking cases in Taiwan's history. This video has come to an end. Thank you for following this fascinating story. If you found this video engaging, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next exciting stories. In a cramped house in Hong Kong, 2 young girls were strangled to death, their bodies violated and mutilated beyond recognition. Strange symbols painted in blood on the walls hinted at a sinister ritual known as the 5 Ghosts' Revenge. The perpetrator was caught inside the house, unnervingly calm as if nothing had happened. He claimed it was all part of a sacred ritual. A ritual meant to make his wife pay for her infidelity. This was clearly the act of a deranged fanatic. But was that truly the reason, or just a facade for a long-planned, brutal revenge? What secrets lie behind this blood-soaked ritual? This chilling case is entirely real, taking place in Hong Kong in late 2003. Don't take your eyes off the screen. This video will unveil gripping details and the investigation journey you've never heard before. Like and subscribe to join us in exploring the story. On December 4th, 2002, in Yuen Long, Hong Kong, a seemingly peaceful night was shattered by a mysterious disappearance. At 10 p.m., a frantic man rushed to the police station, reporting that his 11-year-old daughter, Chan Nok-wan, had not returned home after going out to buy idle trading cards. According to his statement, around 7 p.m., the girl left home, telling her parents she would go to Yuen Long Plaza to buy cards of a famous pop group and return in 30 minutes. However, 3 hours later, the family still hadn't seen her. They contacted friends and teachers, but no one knew her whereabouts. The police immediately took on the case as the victim was only 11 years old. The prolonged disappearance raised the alarming possibility of abduction. The case was handed to the Major Crimes Unit for urgent investigation. The location where Chan Nok-wan bought the cards was the Zed station shop on the second floor of Yuen Long Plaza, less than a 10-minute walk from her home on Tufu Street. Even accounting for the time spent shopping, she should have been home within an hour. Reviewing surveillance footage at Yuen Long Plaza, police discovered Chan Nok-wan appeared at the store around 7:30 p.m. The camera captured her buying trading cards, some stationery, and then leaving the mall via the stairs. However, after that moment, no other cameras along the route to her home recorded her presence. It was as if she vanished into thin air after leaving the plaza. Police searched the areas surrounding Yuen Long Plaza, including shortcuts Chan Nok-wan might have used. Yet, no trace of her was found. After 2 weeks of relentless searching, police still had no new leads regarding her disappearance. According to her family, Chan Nok-wan was a well-behaved child who lived in a harmonious household, making it unlikely she had run away. On December 19, 2002, exactly 15 days after Chan Nok-wan's disappearance, around 9 p.m., Yuen Long police received an urgent report. A family reported that their 10-year-old daughter, Jim Pui-san, had not returned home after school that afternoon. Jim Pui-san, a student at Vinh Nghiem Buddhist Primary School, usually returned home by 6 p.m. However, that evening, despite searching everywhere, her family could not find her. Once again, fear gripped Yuen Long as another mysterious disappearance unfolded. Both victims, Chan Nok-wan and Jim Pui-san, were young girls with long black hair, oval faces, and were wearing red clothing on the day they vanished. This led police to suspect the two cases were connected to a single predator, possibly a serial killer. Fearing more similar cases might occur, police expanded their efforts to gather information. At this point, surveillance footage provided a critical clue. Jim Pui-san was seen at a bus stop near her school, accompanied by a middle-aged man. Both had their backs to the camera as they boarded bus route 39, which started from Phoenix Road near the primary school and ended at the N2 bus depot, covering a 45-kilometer journey. The bus passed through stops such as Education Avenue, Ma Tin Road, Tin Liu Village, and Pak Sha. However, the route spanned 18 districts, making tracking efforts exceedingly difficult. The most suspicious detail from the surveillance footage was that Jim Pui-san showed no signs of resistance or calling for help. This raised the question: could she have known the middle-aged man? Passengers on bus route 39 that day were questioned, but none remembered anything unusual. The middle-aged man appeared to intentionally avoid attention by sitting with the girl in a hidden corner. Within just 15 days, the disappearance of two young girls in Yuen Long caused public outcry. Horrifying rumors began to circulate, from serial kidnappers to organ trafficking. Under immense pressure from the public, Yuen Long police increased patrols and expanded the investigation, searching every area along bus route 39. Despite their efforts, no additional leads emerged, leaving investigators frustrated and at a standstill. On December 20th, just 2 days after Jim Pui-san disappeared, Yuanlong police received an unexpected report, not about a missing person, but a domestic dispute. A local woman reported that her sister's husband had locked himself and his 3 children inside a house and was threatening to ignite a gas tank in a murder-suicide act. The scene was a small house in Paksha village, about 7 kilometers from Yuanlong Plaza. The house, tucked away in a secluded alley and surrounded by closely built homes, posed a severe risk if an explosion occurred. When police arrived, they realized the situation was far more dire than expected. All the windows were boarded up with wooden planks. The strong smell of gas leaked from cracks, indicating that the man inside genuinely intended to blow up the house. The man shouted through the locked door, demanding police leave or risk the house exploding with him and the 3 children inside. Police quickly mobilized a large force, evacuating nearby residents and surrounding the house. The woman who reported the incident identified the man as Tang Yongxiang, her sister San Liufan's husband since 1991. They had 3 children, but the marriage deteriorated when San Liufan began seeing another man and frequently left home. After failed attempts to reconcile, Tang Yongxiang became increasingly jealous and obsessed with his wife. His desperation culminated in locking himself and the children in the house, threatening to blow it up. Negotiators were sent in to persuade Tang not to harm his children, but he seemed uninterested in their safety, repeatedly asking, "Has San Liufan arrived yet?" Experts warned that if San Liufan showed up, Tang Yongxiang would likely ignite the gas immediately as part of his revenge, prompting police to keep her in a safe location and prevent any contact. During negotiations, metallic banging sounds echoed from inside the house. Police realized Tang Yongxiang was striking the gas tank with a hammer, seemingly preparing for detonation. Faced with a critical situation, the commanding officer ordered immediate action. A police team broke down the door, but as soon as they entered the first floor, Tang Yongxiang, from the second floor, ignited the gas. A massive explosion shook the house, shattering windows and sending flames engulfing the structure. Fortunately, the confined space limited the blast's force. Firefighters quickly extinguished the flames, while police subdued a dazed Tang Yongxiang. The 3 children were found on the first floor, tied to the gas tank with red ropes. Thankfully, the tank hadn't fully exploded, and the children suffered only minor burns, with no life-threatening injuries. While Tang Yongxiang and the children were taken to the hospital, a police team and firefighters remained on site to gather evidence. On the second floor, they discovered a wardrobe that seemed out of place. Inside the wardrobe, they found an object wrapped tightly in white fabric, bound with the same red ropes used on the children. Initially, they thought it was a bundle of blankets, but upon touching it, they felt something semi-soft and rigid inside. When the white fabric was unwrapped, officers were horrified to find the body of a young girl. She was identified as Njim Pui-san, who had gone missing 2 days earlier. Continuing their search, police found a full-body photo of San Liufan pinned to the wall with 5 nails. The words, "San Liufan, born August 1st, 1980, were scrawled beneath it in red ink, creating an eerie scene. Investigating further, they discovered an old well in the backyard, recently sealed with fresh cement. Sensing something was amiss, police broke through the cement. Beneath the cement, they found another young girl's body floating in the well. DNA tests confirmed the victim as Chan Nok-wan, who had been missing for 2 weeks. After breaking through the concrete, another girl's body was discovered. DNA tests confirmed the victim as Chan Nok-wan, who had been missing for 2 weeks. Autopsy results revealed both victims had been strangled, with their mouths and noses covered with pillows. One victim's face was severely mutilated with knife wounds, and both showed signs of being assaulted before death. As for Tang Yongxiang, when he regained consciousness in the hospital, he muttered about punishment and sacrifice. He showed no remorse and instead talked about dark rituals, leading police to question his mental stability. The case quickly shocked all of Hong Kong, not only for its brutality but also for the bizarre, occult elements tied to Tang Yongxiang's rituals. Initially, Tang denied all crimes, but when confronted about the 2 bodies found in his house, he hesitated, stumbled over his words, and gradually confessed to horrifying details. From here, the picture of his crimes began to emerge. Tan Yongqiang, born in 1964 in Taiwan, came from a wealthy family. However, during the war, his family fell into financial ruin and eventually fled to Vietnam before seeking asylum in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, his life was far from peaceful. He married his first wife while still a minor. In 1991, he met San Liu Fan, who was only 11 years old at the time, and began living with both women. The twisted nature of this relationship led his first wife to leave him, eventually divorcing Tan Yongqiang. Tan waited until San Liu Fan was of legal age before officially marrying her. The early years of their marriage were smooth, but after having 3 children, financial struggles became a significant issue. Tan was unemployed, and San Liu Fan, with little education, had to work as a hostess at karaoke bars to support the family. This job exposed her to the outside world, where she began to realize the years of control her husband had exerted over her. She started to change, becoming distant and eventually choosing to divorce Tan Yongqiang. Tong, unable to accept this, tried everything to keep her, even seeking help from social welfare agencies. However, all his efforts failed. In a fit of madness, Tang recalled a ritual he had learned in Thailand in his youth, known as the 5 Ghosts' Revenge. According to him, this ritual could enact ultimate vengeance. The ritual required a photo of San Liu Fan with her name and date of birth written on it. He nailed the photo to the wall in 5 specific spots, symbolizing binding her soul. The next requirement was 5 sacrifices. These had to be individuals bound with red ropes who shared a blood relation with the cursed target. Tang had 3 biological children, but was short 2 individuals to complete the ritual. This is when his deranged plan formed. By assaulting 2 girls, he could create a false blood relation, fulfilling the ritual's conditions. With this plan in mind, he wandered through malls and crowded streets, searching for potential targets. Finally, Tom spotted his first target, Chan Nok Wan, an 11-year-old girl wearing a red shirt and holding a collection of trading cards she had just bought at Yuen Long Plaza. He approached her, acting friendly. Knowing she was collecting cards, he pretended to generously give her some rare ones, immediately gaining her trust. Tang told her he had a complete set of cards at home and was willing to give them to her for free. Being only 11 years old, she couldn't resist the temptation and agreed to go with him. That night, on the 2nd floor of his house, Tang strangled Chan Nok Wan until she stopped moving and then assaulted her lifeless body. After completing the ritual with his first victim, he tied her body with red ropes, dumped it into an old well near his house, and sealed it with concrete. Tang believed that Chan Nok Wan's soul had now become one of the 5 ghosts under his control. A week later, Tang began searching for his second target. At a nearby park, he noticed a young girl playing, Jim Pui San. When he learned her name contained San, the same as his wife's, he immediately marked her as his next victim. Tan Yongqiang approached Nim Pui San by having his son befriend and play with her. After a few days of gaining her trust, he invited Nim Pui San to his house to play video games. She innocently agreed. Once he lured her to the 2nd floor, he used a pillow to smother her. However, unable to control his strength, Jim Pui San only lost consciousness rather than dying. As he began his vile act, the girl regained consciousness in pain and tried to resist. Tang Yongqiang grabbed a knife and repeatedly stabbed her face and abdomen until she stopped struggling. After killing Jim Pui San, he kept her red outer garment as a memento. Her body was wrapped in white cloth, bound with red rope, and hidden in a wardrobe on the 2nd floor. Tang believed the ritual was nearly complete. With just his 3 children left to complete it, he became even more reckless and deranged. On December 20th, Tan Yongqiang sat in his sealed house, waiting for his wife, San Liu Fan, to return so he could complete the 5 Ghosts' Revenge ritual. He believed it was the moment for ultimate revenge, making her witness the endless torment he had meticulously arranged. However, Tan Yongqiang had no idea the police had surrounded his house. They raided the premises and arrested him before the ritual could be completed. The case shook all of Hong Kong. People couldn't fathom how a man could commit such atrocities simply out of hatred and an obsession with a dark ritual. Tang Yongcheng's trial took place on January 10, 2004, at the Hong Kong High Court. He and his lawyer attempted to link his actions to mental illness and severe depression. Tang claimed that his goal was to summon the 5 ghosts to take revenge on his unfaithful wife. He even argued that killing Chan Nok-wan and Jim Pui-san was to spare them pain before they became sacrificial spirits. However, prosecutors presented evidence proving Tang was fully conscious and aware of his actions. From meticulously planning, carefully selecting his victims, to concealing his crimes by sealing the well, every detail pointed to a calculated, merciless scheme. The jury was unconvinced by Tang's mental illness defense. They concluded that he not only committed murder, but also exploited dark rituals to justify his twisted actions. On February 25, 2004, with the jury's unanimous decision, Tang Yongcheng was sentenced to 2 life imprisonments for 2 murders and an additional 12 years for attempted murder. The sentences were to be served concurrently. After Tang's arrest, his house in Paksha village became a site of eerie fascination. Residents frequently reported strange sounds, such as children playing, heavy breathing near their ears, and women crying or laughing. No one dared approach the house. The landlord eventually waived rent for 5 years and invited a monk to perform exorcism rituals. After a day of chanting, the strange occurrences gradually subsided, but the house's sinister reputation remained etched in the villagers' minds. A fellow inmate later revealed to the media that Tang often claimed to see 2 female ghosts in his prison cell. He said they constantly stared at him, making it impossible for him to sleep. The 5 Ghosts' Revenge case was not only a horrifying crime, but also a chilling tale of human cruelty and obsession. The public continued to debate how to evaluate the legal responsibility of individuals who commit such deranged acts. Thank you for following this story. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel to learn about more chilling and mysterious cases. Remember, no matter how terrifying the truth may be, it must be told to ensure justice prevails.